Just stand in the ult and you'll be fine.
Ice lasers.
Land your f***ing eye already. Here it comes! Here it comes! Get him!
What the f*** was that? On Humber's screen, it's just like all in slow motion.
Hey everyone, it's Jinx and I'm a Genshin Impact math guy now. I hope you enjoyed that opening clip. Co-op can be really fun with friends. Alright, there's quite a bit we're going to cover in this video, so as always, timestamps are above. The video itself on YouTube we sectioned out into chapters so you can skip through more easily, and the description will also have links to all of these chapters and timestamps. Now, I did actually want to get this particular video out earlier this week on Monday or Tuesday, but as I mentioned in the last video, I have been so stressed out and overwhelmed by all of the donation Q&As that I was not able to work on videos for about 4 days. So for the moment, we are nixing Q&As and personal team composition recommendations and optimizations until we work out a better system for it. Again, check out that video for the full details. Moving on, in this video, we are going to be talking about Klee and how you may be potentially missing up to 30% of her damage just because you're not playing her right. This is kind of the perfect example of cheap deeps because you will be increasing your damage significantly just by learning how to play her right. Alright, so first off, let's just talk about Klee, because a lot of the sentiment I've seen across like content creators and a lot of the internet right now is that she's actually not that good, and yet I placed her as the strongest carry in my tier lists. Well, one of the 3 strongest at least. Whether Dayluk, Klee, or Keiching is stronger depends on what kind of you have, as well as what enemies you are fighting and what content and ley lines you're fighting against. But without a doubt, with a similar level of investment, she is going to be outputting much more than any of the other carries other than those 2. I've also seen quite a bit of sentiment stating that Klee is pretty squishy, and objectively she is. She does have lower health than the other carries being a caster. However, she is also the most mobile carry in the game if you learn how to play her. She is the only god tier carry in the game that can still output very good DPS while constantly moving, because she is the only carry in the game that can truly kite enemies while still maintaining very high DPS. See, the sad, cold, hard reality is, if you play Klee and you don't think she's that strong and you have invested in her properly, the only reason you think that is because, like me, you're bad at playing Klee. Now, this is not a dig on you in any way, because the reason I'm bad at playing Klee is because I'm terrible at her mechanics, but the reason you're not good at Klee is because you don't understand or know about her animation canceling mechanics. See, Klee is, no Kappa, the most mechanically challenging character to play in this entire game. In fact, Tuner and I have started calling her Klee Sin because of how mechanically difficult and complex she is. And also because Clean G just sounds kinda stupid. See, pretty much every other carry in this game requires you to learn maybe 1 or 2 different combos. Maybe you need to learn how to jump cancel your recovery frames at the end of your combo, but it's relatively simple stuff. Klee, on the other hand, has a crap load of different potential combos you can do in different situations, as well as different animation cancels that are a part of those that you have to master if you really want to increase her outputs. And as you can clearly see from the background footage, I'm not very good at playing Klee because I have not yet mastered her animation cancels and combos, and I'm kind of just bad mechanically at games in general. Little secret about me, I got really good at gaming math, builds, and optimization and all of that because it compensates for my lack of mechanical skill. Fortunately, with these math and optimization and frame counting skills that I have, I am able to tell you, who is probably better at this game than me, how to play Klee right so you can actually use her optimally, unlike me. Alright, so let's talk about the animation cancels and mechanics and combos you have to learn on Klee to play her optimally. And then in the next video, which will be coming out in a few days, I have some other stuff I want to get out in between. We will be talking about the best combos to use with her for maximum DPS rotations in different situations. So first off, you want to learn how to do MachineGun walk cancels to increase your DPS when you're not using charge attacks. Next, there are 2 double tap jump cancels that you want to learn the timing for. The first one is a more consistent but slightly less DPS potential version of the machine gun, and the other one allows you to be so mobile. And then otherwise, the last one we want to learn is how we cancel our charge attacks, because that is where the bulk of our DPS comes from. Okay, let's get into the nitty-gritty. First off, let's talk about MachineGun Klee. Now, just to clarify, when we talk about frames and all these calculations, we are talking about 60 FPS. Also, anytime we are talking about how much % damage the talents on the combo do, that is based off of a level 6 combat talent. However, the scaling on talents per level is basically linear, so it's still the same regardless. So MachineGun Klee is where you basically use your attack 1 input and then walk cancel in between to do another attack 1 input. As far as I know, the only 2 characters in the game that can do this kind of attack 1 walk cancel are currently Klee and Ningguang. Now you may be wondering, well, why would I go through the effort of learning how to do this? After after all, I can just do my 3-attack combo and surely that's better, right? Well, the answer to that is no by a big margin. So basically, there are two different ways to do your standard 3-hit combo. One is to just mash your attack button with absolutely no animation cancelling added, and the other is to jump cancel on the very last attack. A frame perfect jump cancel is when you do jump the moment that the third bomb is created, and that this is going to save you about 8 frames. The problem with this is that it's extremely hard to do this frame perfect consistently. So 100 milliseconds is going to be 6 frames, which is about what when someone commits to muscle memory and animation cancelling combo like this is around the average they'll be hitting. For someone like Tuner or Hiker who do play rhythm games and have much better reaction time than me, they generally get about 3 to 4 frames off of frame perfect on average. And I average around 7 to 9, so let's just go with 6, which is 100 milliseconds as the average. So let's actually take a look at the damage comparison between these 3 different potential combos. As you can see, any of the combos that do have any kind of animation cancelling in them, I have both the frame perfect in case you happen to be a mechanical god, as well as the average version with 6 extra frames added per cancel. So if you do happen to be a mechanical god and you can frame perfect machine gun cancel every time, you will be hitting 32.24% more DPS than the standard 3-hit looping combo. And even if you frame perfect the 3-hit standard combo with a short hop jump cancel, you're still going to be 25.09% more DPS. This is a lot of damage. Of course, again, this is only really applies if you're a mechanical god, and I do not recommend using macros in this game because MiHoYo has banned people before for using machine gun fish macros. They're probably concerned that you're using a bot or something to farm accounts. I don't know, I'm not MiHoYo. Now, if we do add in the extra 6 frames per animation cancel input, the damage does go down by quite a bit. At 100 milliseconds, this is going to be a 13.35% damage increase over the standard looping mash M1 combo. And compared to a perfectly frame perfect standard mashing combo with a jump cancel, it's going to be 7.22% more damage. Which is more what a lot of us may realistically be looking like if we don't take the time to truly commit this to muscle memory and get a really perfect combo off every time. Which again is why Klee is the most mechanically challenging character to play, because if you can get frame perfect machine gun combos every time, you do get a 32% damage increase on your basic attacks. And for those curious, I did also test what frame perfect jump cancelling on just an A1 spam looks like, and it's still slower than machine gun. Alright, now that we do know how potentially powerful machine gun is, how do we do it? Well, the timing is going to vary from person to person depending on your reaction time. This is kind of the reality with any kind of animation cancelling, is that depending on your reaction time, you have to look for a different tell for when you want to try to press the button. My reaction time is around like 80 to 90 milliseconds slower than Tuner's, just based off of the footage I've recorded and frame counted between us, which does mean when I'm looking for a visual or audio cue for when to press a button, I have to look for one that's about 80 to 90 milliseconds sooner than Tuner would have to. So for example, if Tuner learns to click the button at a certain movement of the hand, I have to learn to click the button at a certain movement of the hand about 80 to 90 milliseconds sooner than that movement. Which is why I think the idea of telling people, oh, press the button when you see this happen is bad advice, because everyone has different reaction times. So instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to slow down a footage of a frame perfect animation cancel so you know exactly what the soonest frame you can do it on is. And then you'll just have to practice and kind of figure out what the visual or audio tell you want to time it with for yourself is based on your own reaction times. So if we slow down the footage down to 10% speed, we can see that at frame 34 is going to be the soonest you can possibly movement cancel. Now, this is not frame 34 in the actual full attack animation for Klee, this is frame 34 in the footage I'm showing you. Animation blending makes these single attack chains kind of weird to figure out what is actually the starting frame, so instead for frame counting, I was counting the frames between when the bomb forms in her hand. Now, when this bomb forms above her hand is going to be 2 frames after the actual starting animation, but it's just a much easier, consistent frame to identify compared to trying to figure out which one is the starting animation with all the movement and animation blending in the game. For clarification's sake, if you're trying to test the actual frame time of each attack in a combo that uses different attacks, this does not work. This only works if you are testing the exact same move being used over and over again, or if you're testing the total combo time of the same combo over and over again. Alright, let's talk about how you do this machine gun combo. If you hold W or any movement button while the attack is going on, it will immediately movement cancel as long as you do not click your attack button again before frame 34. If you do this frame perfectly enough, you can see that Klee's feet don't even move after frame 34 before the next attack inputs. Which does mean that if Klee doesn't move in between each of the attacks, you know you've done a perfect walk cancel. Again, the closer you can get to doing consistent frame perfect timings, the closer you get to that 32.24% damage increase over the basic combo. And again, this is why I am personally not very good at Klee, because I'm just not good at doing the machine gun cancel consistently. But for those of you who are better with reaction time and developing muscle memory for combos, you do have a high potential damage cap from mastering this combo. I kinda have boomer hands. Alright, so that is the first core one you want to learn, so what's next? Well, next is what's called the double tap short hop cancel. This is the one that I personally use because if you are not closer to frame perfect, it is going to be slightly better, and also even if you are able to master the machine gun Klee combo, you want to learn this for the sake of mobility. So the double tap short hop combo is actually exactly the same frame count at frame perfect as doing frame perfect machine guns. It's 72 frames when frame perfect and it's 2 attacks per combo. The reason why this is weaker is because Klee's second attack is actually lower damage than her first attack. So this does actually hurt her DPS versus mastering the machine gun combo instead. On top of that, the machine gun can do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, however many attacks you can fit into a window, while this one is locked to doing 2 attacks at a time. The main reason why this one is nice is that for me personally, I do find jump canceling easy to do than the movement cancels. On top of that, you only have to do 1 cancel input per 2 attacks instead of 1. This means that this does get better in comparison to the machine gun combo the slower your reaction time is and the slower your inputs are. For example, at these 6 frames, in other words 100 milliseconds average delay we add to each of the cancels, it is actually suddenly basically on par with the machine gun combo at the same delay average. But again, this does depend on how close you get to frame perfect on your inputs. For example, this is objectively worse for Tuner to do because he averages about 3 to 4 frames past frame perfect. And if you do frame perfect both of them, the machine gun is still better by 7.45%, and you do have the option of chaining it as long as you want in single increments instead of double attack increments. There is also the issue that if you get hit while you're in the air, you suffer a much longer knockdown compared to being on the ground. So the machine gun Klee combo does have that in its favor. Now, this does give Klee a very important thing she'd be missing otherwise, which is mobility. So if instead of doing a short hop, you do a full jump to move around, you do at most add about 5 frames to your actual combo. However, when Klee does do this too early, the second bomb is going to go in the direction she is facing. Now, this is perfectly fine if you are chasing after someone you are knocking away with charge attacks or overload boops or things like that. However, if you do want to instead be repositioning, backing away, or just in general evading, you do have to wait an extra 22 frames. After those 22 frames, the second bomb now exists in the world and is already traveling, at which point you can jump in a different direction without it going in the direction you are facing. Now, this is going to be her lowest DPS rotation, however, it does allow you to be constantly mobile. You just have to be careful that if an attack is going to hit you during your jump animation, you need to dash instead. This allows you to constantly be repositioning so that you can be dodging attacks preemptively by simply getting out of the way before they're going to be able to hit you. Combine this with the fact that Klee is in fact ranged, and you have the potential to not burn any stamina while constantly kiting your opponents. This kite potential allows you to not have to burn stamina to dodge 90% of the attacks in the game preemptively. You still have to iframe some things because the hitboxes are just too big. And jumps do not have any invincibility frames, but dashes do. Alright, let's go ahead and slow it down again so you can see what the first frame you can jump cancel on for a frame perfect chasing or regular standing jump cancel looks like. The timing is the same for a chasing jump cancel and a short hop double tap because it's the same thing. The only difference is you're holding W. Now, frame 42 is the soonest you can do this jump cancel, at least based on the frame testing that we did. However, I am showing off frame 41 here because when you do the jump cancel, you form a bomb in your hand, and it's easy to identify that frame 41 keyframe of the hand positioning. Okay, so for the sake of time, I don't want to loop this more than twice. So let's move on to a slowdown of the evading double tap jump cancel. So this one is a little bit different because in order to make sure the bomb goes in the direction that you were facing before you jump to evade or reposition, You have to wait until the bomb on the second attack is fully formed at around frame 98 to 99, and that's when you do the jump cancel. It may be possible to do this a little earlier at frame 97 or 98, however, in the testing footage I looked over, a lot of those would sometimes cancel and sometimes wouldn't throw a second bomb out. 99 was the only consistent frame perfect cancel I found, but again, you may be able to shave a frame or two off of this. It's a little hard to tell with the amount of sample data I had. Now that we have the machine gun as well as the double tap chasing and evade text down, how good are these actually compared to the other god carries in the game? And the answer is, by themselves, they do not compete. Even if you master the frame perfect machine gun combo, you still will not out DPS a Diluc who is just mashing attack and jump cancelling at the end of the fourth attack. And similarly, all of your double tap mobility options do not compete with Diluc simply doing the same thing. Although in this case, you do have the advantage of range so you can kite better. Keep in mind, I didn't do a full course of rigor for the Keqing and Diluc combo frame counts that are listed here. At best, this is going to be a decent estimation of what the max potential output looks like with frame perfect inputs, but I did not actually take the time to find the frame perfect for each of them. These are just the fastest I could achieve with a handful of small tests for the sake of this video. Little side note, melees are a bit more difficult to calculate for because they actually get hit lag when they hit enemies. Hit lag is that slight slowdown you have when you hit an enemy to add weight and impact and heaviness to an attack from a melee character. Diluc's Claymore attacks have more hit lag than Keqing's to make his attacks feel heavier and weightier. This is good game design, it just makes frame counting annoying. This means you do have to do all of your frame counting tests on enemies that have hit lag because you will be hitting slower in real combat than if you were just swinging the combo into the air. I'm also still not sure if you can jump cancel before the hit lag is finished or if you have to wait until afterwards, because so far all of my tests have shown that you have to wait until after the hit lag is over to do a jump cancel. So yeah, point is that these are estimations right now. They could in fact be even higher DPS and faster. I'm just not 100% sure yet. Anyway, moving on, if we aren't actually getting more damage than other god carries, why are we even bothering to learn this on Klee, and why is she still double S tier? Well, first off, Klee's ult just adds a bunch of passive damage when she presses the button. In fact, adding in the ult basically doubles the DPS Klee is currently putting out, which is a big advantage, and in a proper team comp with proper play, Klee should be ulting off of cooldown and anytime she's on the field anyway. Now, of course, this doesn't account for the DPS that the other characters are putting out with their ults as well, because they have more burst style ults. However, this is not the main reason why Klee competes, this is just a factor. The main reason is because Klee is a charge attack character, not a basic attack character. Klee's charge attack does a dump truck of damage after she hits Ascension 2 and when you build up a spark from basic attacks, which is why it is important to learn how to increase the DPS of our basic attack combos, because you'll be doing on average at least 2 in between every dump truck of charge attack damage. To give you some frame of reference of how much damage this thing actually does, an empowered charge attack with a spark from Klee does roughly 75% of the damage of all 3 of Diluc's elemental skill hits combined. It is borderline ult burst level of damage. And because it's a single hit, you can also build team comps around vaporizing or melting this charge damage. Oh, and it is extremely spammable, and on top of that, you can do animation cancels to make it even faster. Now, obviously, because of the A2 spark mechanic, it is not optimal to just spam charge attacks like this. You do want to get those 2 auto attacks in between. But because this video is already getting very long and there's already a lot to process, we'll be covering that in the next video we do on Klee covering her combos. That video will just basically be showing you what the optimal rotations of these fundamental animation cancels you've learned in this video will be in order to maximize your damage in different situations. So compared to the other jump cancels here, this one's a little bit sketchier because if you do get close to frame perfect but input slightly too early, you actually burn stamina without doing the attack. This is also the only one where it's really hard for me to do a slowdown of what a frame perfect one looks like, because all of the frame perfect footage we have is while there are explosions happening and it's really hard to see. Now, because this one has such a massive DPS loss risk if you accidentally do a version without any attack coming out, this is the one I would recommend just practicing yourself and getting out a nice consistent rhythm for yourself on when to time it. You don't really want to be frame perfect on this one, because if you are slightly just one frame too fast, you will accidentally just not do any damage. And just like with the short hops, you can input movements here to be constantly mobile and evading while doing your charge attacks. This is extremely handy considering how big the burst on these charges can be. Remember, Klee is more of a kiting carry. Having this extra mobility and avoiding attacks preemptively is how you avoid damage with Klee 90% of the time. Also, your charge attack has like a lot of knockback, so against small enemies you want to be chasing them with forward jumps in between your combos and charge attacks so you can keep up. Also, the last thing we're going to cover in this animation cancelling basics video is the fact that you can also cancel your charge attack into attack inputs before the charge attack even goes off. This is by far the easiest mechanic to learn on Klee because if you mash attack, it will come out basically frame perfect. You do want to be careful about mashing though, because mashing does mess with your ability to do frame perfect optimal combo rotations, which we're covering in the next video. Again, I'm not going to slow this one because it's not only a relatively easier one to learn, it's also just really hard even in slow motion to see when you're supposed to press attack because everything is covered in explosions. Alright, this covers all of the basics for the animation cancelling that turns Klee into one of the highest DPS carries in the game, as well as the most mobile and the most kite heavy. For those of you mechanically skilled enough to do so, Klee is the only carry in the game that can basically dodge 90% of the attacks in the game without ever having to use any stamina for dodging. Some attacks still have to be iframed, especially like weekly boss attacks, but for the most part, you can kite the hell out of everything with Klee if you play her well enough. Now, I am not a mechanically gifted player at all, which is why I'm really bad at playing Klee, and I don't actually really like playing her that much personally. But I do like math, and I do like frame counting, and I do like calculating and figuring out the best combos and animation cancels and mechanics like that for characters, even if I don't ever intend on doing it myself personally. But for those of you who do enjoy really mechanically complex characters and do really enjoy a character with a high skill ceiling like the Genjis and Klee Sins of the world, Klee is essentially that in Genshin. Klee is able to dance around enemies and constantly pump out very high DPS with intense bursts of damage while not ever getting hit due to kiting in positional play. I'm just really bad at playing her personally. Alright, thank you as always for checking out the video. If you have any friends with Klee or who are thinking about getting Klee, be sure to share this video with them so they do understand how mechanically difficult but rewarding she can be to play. And also like, leave a comment, all these kinds of things just bump up the SEO so the video gets seen by more people. Also, of course, a huge thank you to both Tuner and Hiker, who did record the majority of the footage used for the frame counting in this video. They both do stream on Twitch, and in fact, Tuner is live right now, so be sure to go shoot them a follow. Also, be sure to go check out our Twitters. The Jinx Mathlos one is my personal one, and the @JinxTuner is the company account run by Tuner. This is where you go if you just want more frequent updates about stuff, as well as just to hear my thoughts on any news or things I find out about or math I'm crunching as soon as I think about it. Be sure to check out our Discord server as well, the Mathlos Nest. We have a beautiful community of people who are all there learning, sharing ideas, helping each other out, and I do occasionally pop into chat. Occasionally. And of course, none of this would be possible with the generosity of our patrons. Thank you so much for your support as always. You might be tired of hearing this because I say it every single time, but y'all the best. And if you want to take a look at the frame counting as well as DPS calculation spreadsheet shown off in this video, the link to my master Genshin spreadsheet where there's all of my random crap on it is in the description. There is also a link to the RK Ching mains Discord server theory crafting library, which is where I did get some of the frame counting for K Chings for carry comparisons in this video. Also, just a quick heads up, it's gonna be a few days before I actually get around to making that Klee combo video because there are some more important time-sensitive ones I want to get out first. But, you know, this video gives you all the tools you need to play Klee optimally and build your own combos and figure out your own playstyle with her. Alright, my shoulders hurt because this was a really intense video to make editing and testing wise. I probably have already spent about 14 hours on it, and this week has been really stressful. So I'm gonna hop off now. Be sure to subscribe, hit the notification bell, all that good jazz if you want to see stuff when it comes out. I might do a chill stream tonight. I'm still not 100% certain on that, so be sure to hit the notification bell if you want YouTube to tell you as soon as I go live. Happy waifu hunting, whalers. We'll see you in the next video. Bye!